Good afternoon, my Real News Midday TV family. Welcome back to the channel for another news update. And in the news this afternoon, the DPP says no grounds to appeal Rodney's sentence, but the daughter of crash victim still wants a review. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn says her office would have no grounds to appeal the suspended sentence handed down to Delroy Rodney, whose dangerous driving caused the deaths of 5 persons in 2023. Rodney, who was driving a taxi with all the victims on board when he crashed, was sentenced to 18 months imprisonment on each of the 5 counts of causing death by dangerous driving in the Westmoreland Circuit Court last week. All sentences are running concurrently, suspended for 3 years. He was also restricted from holding a driver's license for 3 years and was ordered to pay $500,000 to the relatives of the victims on each count. But the victims' relatives were disappointed with the verdict, saying the penalty was tantamount to allowing Rodney to escape accountability. Speaking with the news on Thursday, Llewellyn said that the ruling by High Court Justice Courtney Day had a firm basis in case law. When we look at the case law for causing death by dangerous driving, if you plead guilty, you almost never get a custodial sentence. When you look at the sentencing guidelines and the case law, we would not be on strong footing for an appeal because it would be within the sentencing range, given the fact that the man pleaded guilty, said Llewellyn. For the prosecution to appeal as a matter of practical strategy and the public interest, you really only appeal in strong viable matters because you are going against the normal ordinary practice where it is the accused who would appeal. Because the man pleaded guilty, you have to give credit for the plea of guilty, added Llewellyn. At the sentencing hearing, Justice Day noted that the maximum sentence for the offense is 5 years imprisonment. He acknowledged that Rodney would get a reduced sentence because of his early guilty plea, his expression of remorse, and his willingness to compensate the victims' families. However, Sabrina Marshall, whose mother, 54-year-old Janet Thompson of McAlpine District in Westmoreland, was one of the 5 victims, was far from satisfied with the judge's decision. For a case such as this, that has been in the media from the inception, and at the end, this is the verdict, I think it is in the best interest of the country for the DPP to step in and intervene, said Marshall. The other victims of the November 13, 2023 crash were 15-year-old Lavicia Forrester and her 39-year-old mother, Petrina Wallace, as well as O'Neill Allen and his mother, 65-year-old Angela Samuels. After that the sentence was handed down, the outrage in my community was out of this world, said Marshall. Llewellyn expressed a willingness to meet with the families of the victims to explain Rodney's sentencing and the case law regarding the ruling. Petrojam staff uneasy about outstanding compensation matters. With 4 weeks to go before the start of a new wage period for public sector workers, those employed to the state-owned oil refinery Petrojam are concerned about outstanding items under the current compensation framework. John Levy, General Secretary of the Union of Clerical Administrative and Supervisory Employees, says workers are dismayed that there has been no movement on the outstanding matters. I wouldn't want to go into a detail, but suffice to say that the workers are expressing their displeasure at the long delay. We have 4 weeks to go for the close of the 3-year contract period 2022 to 2025, and we have not signed a full agreement up to now, he complained. In recent weeks, a number of public sector groups have become increasingly agitated about outstanding matters under the compensation review. Education Ministry urged to quickly revise the framework governing school boards. The association that represents the chairmen of boards of secondary schools is calling for the Ministry of Education to quickly complete and implement the revised governance framework for the selection of schools boards. The appeal comes against the background of a breakdown in communication between the chairman of St. James High School and the principal this week, which resulted in the suspension of classes for a day. Speaking with the news on Friday morning, Courtney Winter, president for the Jamaica Association of Chairmen for Secondary Schools, said the Ministry of Education has been conducting consultations with stakeholders on how to address governance issues in schools. Noting that there appears to be serious governance issues at St. James High, Mr. Winter pointed fingers at the education regulations, which he said allows a chairman to also carry out the functions of a principal.
We ironically have noticed that the National Council of Education as well as the Ministry of Education recently have been making their rounds to look at the possibility of a revised governance framework. And we think that they need to hasten that process because the regulations, especially educational regulations of 1980, is a little dated, and it can give the impression to any chairman that they act as a executive chairman, because the regulation provides for the chairman to actually do things that should really be in the activities and role of the principal or the CEO. So to say that you're throwing up your hands and there's nothing you can do, I'm not so sure that that would be a correct posture. I think what the ministry could do in the power that it has is to facilitate perhaps a mediator or to take other decisions in terms of training to highlight the role of a chairman as well as the role of the principal. But I'm yet to understand clearly what that means, because I'm not so sure the ministry doesn't have that power.
St. James, a man accused of assaulting child's mother and her lover. A St. James man is facing multiple charges after allegedly twice assaulting his child's mother and attacking a man with whom she is reportedly involved romantically. Clifton Rose pleaded not guilty to assault occasioning bodily harm, assaulting a female, and malicious destruction of property when he appeared before presiding judge Keisha Grant Price in the St. James Parish Court on Wednesday. According to court documents, on January 11, the woman was at home with a man she was involved with romantically when Rose, her child's father, arrived and began banging on the door. The woman remained silent, and Rose allegedly started to remove the window blades and demanded that she unlock the door. When she refused, he broke down the door, entered the house, grabbed the complainant, and beat her with his fist. It is further alleged that after assaulting the woman, Rose left the room and moved to another room where he physically attacked the man before departing the premises. The following day, the woman was reportedly on her way to her cousin's residence when she noticed Rose following behind her. It is alleged that after the complainant arrived at her cousin's house, Rose began knocking on the door and demanding that she open it, but she refused. As the woman was leaving the premises, Rose allegedly emerged from an unfinished section of the house, grabbed her hair, threw her to the ground, and pulled her by the hair, causing bruises, pain, and swelling. The incident was reported to the police, and Rose was arrested and charged. When the matter was called up in court on Wednesday, the woman was absent, prompting the judge to emphasize the importance of her attendance. Guys, thank you for watching. See you this evening at 6 p.m. for another news update.